I'm going to go back just a few spreads and show you that each page of the teacher edition has a little box always on the right-hand spread called Supporting Materials. And it has a little blue box in there that says AG. In this case, it's Changes in Thinking About the Environment. Here, it's the same. Here it is Interviewing Like a Historian. And here, under Supporting Materials, AG in the blue box, Interviewing Like a Historian. So that AG is this piece right here. AG stands for Activity Guide. So you have a roadmap in your teacher edition. Whenever you see that blue box, that's a stop and go light telling you to go to the activity guide, which is a 3-ring hole punched piece that you can put in a binder so that you can add and subtract easily as you customize your own student activities. Inside the student activity guide, there are all sorts of Blackline masters, but there is also information for you in terms of using the activities with your students, how to use them. And then also there are examples of letters that you can send home with your students when you're dealing with a chapter or a content area that may involve family input. I think this is talking about Chapter 1 and introducing the concept of the Thinking Like a Historian methodology. There's also a letter for Chapter 6 because that deals with immigration and settlement, and in that chapter the activities encourage students to go home and interview family and friends who are elders in their community to gather information about their journey stories. These letters are available in the English language, the Spanish language, and also the Hmong language. And then for each chapter, and here again we're showcasing Chapter 3, there will be a list of the activities that are pertinent to use with students, a brief synopsis of those activities. And here, if we could just focus in on Activity 1, Keyword Self-Assessment. This is something that you'll find in Chapter 3, but you'll find it in every single chapter, dealing with the keywords that were presented in the chapter's opening spread. This is something that you would use with your students before you even crack open a specific chapter, have them reflect on the words and indicate what they already know about a word and how familiar they are with it. And then this is something that you can have students refer to throughout the reading of the chapter as they become more familiar and their understanding changes and grows. Let's go back to Activity 2, which is Thinking Like a Historian. Just like every chapter having a keyword self-assessment, every chapter will have a Thinking Like a Historian activity, and those will become more sophisticated as students work through the chapters of the book. Remember in Chapter 1, when Bobby was showing that to you earlier, students were focusing on getting familiar with the symbols and the types of questions. Here, they're asked to recognize the symbol and get familiar with a specific chapter Thinking Like a Historian question by translating it into their own words. And that process of translation and actually writing the word down begins to imprint the meaning of it in their brains. Here's another activity that helps students in Chapter 3 do that compare and contrast that I talked about a little bit earlier. It's focusing on the different periods that Indians were living, the Paleo period and the Archaic period on this particular worksheet, and asking questions about where did they live, what did they eat, how did they hunt, what tools did they use, and what were their homes like. And there's room here where the students can use words, they can also use drawings, because we know that every student learns and remembers in a unique way. And this carries that pattern through with the Woodland period, the Mississippian period, and the Oneota period. So if you were to make copies of this and spread it out on a page, students could fill in the chart and read all the way across as well as down the page. Chapter 3 offers an activity about effigy mounds and mound builders, where there's information for students to read. There are drawings of different shapes of effigy mounds and the words that archaeologists have given those shapes in the English language, and then directed questions and writing activities. This could serve as a formal assessment if you wished. There are other formal assessments presented in each chapter as well. And then, just like we organized the table of contents for the student reader to reflect the Department of Public Instruction's social studies standards, we've also correlated the activities by the types of performance skills they address. So here what you see is a chapter summary. It's along the top in the color-coded areas, you see the 12 chapters presented, and reading down the left-hand side of the page are the history standards. And then you see reading across the page, B 4.1, identify and examine various sources of information used for constructing an understanding of the past. And you'll see that there's a box with a dot in it for each of the 12 chapters, because we know how important it is in this book that evidence be used in constructing meaning about the past. So it's the black dot in the white box that signals to you which chapter and which standard is addressed by content and by activity. Bobby mentioned the online component, and you can find that at the website address on this screen, and that will continue to grow as the years go by. The focus of our work has been to generate the 3 print pieces, the student reader, the activity guide, and the teacher edition. And now that those are all 3 off press and making their way to your schools and your libraries, there'll be more time and energy to start populating the website. You'll be finding activities on the website that go into more depth and extend the learning in new directions inside the social studies strands, but into other academic areas as well. Thank you.